Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and I've got some mint on card sales for vintage Kenner Star Wars figures. We've got some Palitoy, some Power of the Force, 3 different mock Darth Vaders sold, and that brown-haired Luke Farm Boy on the Transition 48 back Return of the Jedi card did sell. I had that in my What to Buy video. As always, thanks to my Patreon supporters. They get my videos 24 hours early access. Patreon.com/actionfiguregrader is where you can go to sign up for as little as $1 a month. And I do send out Patreon buy it now alerts for these types of items on eBay. So let's go ahead and take a look. The first one was a beautiful archival case, AFA 80 32 back sticker, 12 back C. That is a mouthful. That's what she said. But this is a very tough to find 12 back C R2-D2, but it had a 32 back sticker on the back of the card. These were only produced for a very limited time, and what was happening there is they were starting to release some of the Empire Strikes Back figures, and they slapped this sticker on leftover 12 backs and sent it out. So you can imagine this is kind of like a semi or hybrid transition card, because it still has the Star Wars racetrack and Star Wars logo, but they were starting to release the early Empire Strikes Back figures. So very tough to find this one, and that's why it was so expensive. And I was actually surprised, because at first I thought it was just a standard 12 back C AFA 80, and it was listed for $2,000, and the best offer accepted was $1,925. And I was like, wow, that seems really high to me for a 12 back C R2-D2. I would picture more like $1,200 to $1,500. But then I noticed it was the 32 back sticker, and that's why this one is so expensive. It's just not very easy to find this one, because it's got that sticker on the back. And, you know, it's kind of similar to like that Bosk offer sticker that we saw on that Walrus Man that sold for $3,000, or some of those 21 back ESBs, or the 48 backs, which we'll come back to with that Luke Farm Boy. These are just kind of smaller production numbers, because they took 12 backs, slapped the 32 back sticker, and got it out to kind of soft release or soft launch some of these Empire Strikes Back figures. So very tough to find this one. And again, that one sold for $1,925. We also had a 12 back C Jawa with the square bubble inner tray, 80 plus, AFA 80 plus on that one. This was a punched example, 85, 80, 90 were the subscores on that one. So this one is a beauty. That one sold for $1,558. And I didn't look up maybe some recent sales on Hakes. I imagine that one of these, or very close to it, sold in the last Hakes auction, since there were a lot of 12 backs and 20 backs that sold in that last Lot 240 session. So I did not look it up to compare to what this one sold for, but that one did sell for $1,558. And here was a beautiful 20 back with Walrus Man. This was a UKG 80%, and it says a 20 back E. And so you can see that Kit Bash Boba Fett there, and it's got that kind of sticker that covers up the rocket firing mechanism. 20 back E, UKG 80% clear blister with the Kmart price sticker, and it was a punched example. It was listed for £975. The best offer accepted on that was £825, which equates in today's conversion to $1,040 US dollars. Now, if you do it a week from now, it's probably more like $1,500 with what the US dollar is doing and how we're printing money. But at least as of today, it's $1,040 US dollars, or £825 for that gorgeous clear blister Walrus Man graded UKG 80% 20 back E. A couple of diecast also sold. This was a beautiful clear blister diecast X-Wing. This was a 12 back with a price sticker in the upper right. A little bit of wear to it. It had a little soft crease by the hang tab there, but here's the back of it in beautiful condition there. Probably, if I had to guess or throw a round number out, this is like a 75 grade, and it sold for $497 in a buy it now situation. Same seller also had this 12 back Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. A lot of wear around the hang tab. Again, probably, if I had to ballpark it, a 70 plus. This one had some pretty heavy creases by the hang tab, and some, you know, creases that broke color on the back there, and then on the front, it obviously had a lot of wear around the hang tab there. So I would guess a 70 plus. Maybe you get lucky, it gets a 75, but I think it's probably a 70 plus grade. And the price reflected that. It sold for $298. Still clear blister. The blisters were in pretty good shape on both of them. It just had some card wear to them. But beautiful die-cast Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. We had a Luke Skywalker on the 31 back, and it sold in an auction for $570. And I don't think these photos were particularly great. And so you're kind of taking a risk there that, it's kind of dark in terms of the photos. The blister looked pretty good. I mean, to me, the blister looked solid. A little bit of wave to the top of the blister there. But to me, I think that I have a feeling that whoever bought this is going to find that it is in better condition than advertised. These photos just did not do a great job. And I think that if I'm the seller there, you want to really show this in good detail. Now, could there be something going on here in the lower right-hand corner? Either a reseal or it's starting to pull away from the card? Yes, I think that that's a very real risk there, and why this one sold for $570. The rest of the seal looked really good. The blister itself looked pretty good, but this lower right quadrant of the blister seal looks awfully suspicious, and it's either a reseal or it's pulling away from the card, and again, that's why it sold for $570. I'm hoping it's just pulling away from the card there, and that this one is just, a condition issue that will hold the value back a little bit, and obviously it did, but, hopefully that's not a reseal, but you're taking a little bit of a risk on that one, that it is. Next up, we had an AFA 75 debut card for Luke Skywalker in his Hoth battle gear. Obviously a yellowed card. It had some litho damage by the top of the hang tab there. It was obviously a punched example, but it is the debut card already graded by AFA. 75, 75, 85 were the subscores on that one. So the figure got an 85. The card back looks really good. It's just the front there. It's got that little litho damage, which brought the score down. I'm not sure why it got the 75 for the blister score. There's a little bit of rippling going on the left-hand side, so again, maybe it's pulling away a little bit, but structurally, the actual blister looks pretty good there. So it's just slightly yellowed. And again, that one sold for $585. Now, that's about what I paid for mine ungraded, and in all fairness, mine was a clear blister, unpunched, and it got an 80 plus when I sent it into AFA. So this was obviously a step down in terms of the overall grade, but you're paying a lot less for it, already graded there. So pretty good value, I think, for what it is. Next up here is that transition card, dark brown-haired Luke Farm Boy. Very tough to find this one, okay? This is a very tough to find figure variant, the dark brown hair. It only appeared on some Empire Strikes Back cards, and obviously this transition Return of the Jedi card back with the free Nien Nunb offer. And the blister was pulling away a little bit, so that was disclosed by the seller. You can kind of see that right there on the right-hand side. But it was already graded by AFA as a 70, 85, and I think, an 85 for the figure. So, beautiful example. And again, there was an AFA 80 that sold for $3,000 in a buy it now situation. This one was listed for $2,500. The best offer accepted on that was $2,200 US. So just keep that in mind. You can see a little bit maybe pulling away as well as on the left-hand side there. But, it is what it is. I mean, that's going to happen with some of these vintage figures. And it's still clear blister. It's got that Kmart price sticker, and it was a punched example with some wear around the hang tab, which is why it got the 75 score for the card. But that was a beauty. Very, very rare figure variant for that one. And obviously the figure variant combined with the fact that it's on the transition card makes that one really special. Congrats whoever got that one. Here was an interesting lot. Obviously the Gamorrean Guard was a beater, but it had a Gamorrean Guard, and that was a Palatoy Gamorrean Guard. It also had a 47 back free 4-LOM offer that was in pretty good shape for the Tusken Raider, and then a B-Wing palette, which was unpunched, but it had 2 price stickers as well as a yellowed blister on that one. So a little bit of wear by the hang tab on that one. I would argue that the Sand People is probably in the best condition, although that was by no means perfect with some wear there. That lot of 3, I mean, the Gamorrean was in really rough shape. I mean, you can see that there. and it's a Palatoy, but that's going to be expected with these Palatoy blisters for the Gamorrean Guard. They're massive, and they just got beat up over time. This was a KB Toys 2 for $1, so it was a survivor, but it's in really rough shape. That sold for $315 for that lot of 3. I thought that was interesting. Here was a beautiful unpunched squid head on the 65 back, clear blister still. Probably, I would say probably a 75 plus. It had some soft creases on the left-hand side on the back of the card. The front of the card really presented nicely, though. That one sold down in Australia for 229 Australian dollars, which is about 150 US dollars. We had a Zuckuss. I think I had this in my what to buy video. It was a clear blister 65 back A Zuckuss, unpunched, no price sticker. That one sold for $320. And then at the same time this one was ending, it was an AFA 85 65 back C Zuckuss with the Emperor offer, but it was a yellowed blister, price sticker, this one was punched. The 65A was unpunched, no price sticker. So even though this one was graded AFA 85, it was a yellowed blister. It was punched versus unpunched, and it, again, it had that price sticker. That one sold for $287. And I think in my video I said that I wouldn't be surprised if this clear blister unpunched sold for more money, even though it was ungraded. And sure enough, it did. That one sold again for $320. This one sold for $287. Here was that backwards facing R5D4 inside a clear blister Return of the Jedi 65 back, and it did have some wear, some litho damage on the front of the card from where it was inside probably a shipper box, or maybe the original, the collector who owned this stacked them back to back, not in star cases. So as a result, the blister from the other item that was stacked against it unfortunately welded to this card back, and when he pulled them apart, it caused some litho damage. So that was unfortunate, but the R5D4 himself was packed in backwards. So that's a really cool factory error, and it did sell for $500. The starting bid on it was about $400, and no bidders on it. And I was thinking about it, but I put it in my what to buy video just to kind of disclose to everybody that this one was out there, and it did get bid up right at the last day. And it did sell for $500 free shipping. So congrats whoever got that one. I really wanted that one. But the tax man has some bills for Action Figure Grader, and I also had some bills from the last Hakes auction. So I did stay away from it. Next up, we had a Made in Mexico Lili Ledy 65 back Yoda for the U.S. market. So this has got a Lili Ledy Yoda inside, the Regresso variation for Yoda, and this is on the Made in Mexico card back. It did have, unfortunately, some damage in the upper right hand corner where the sticker was attempted to be removed, and it potentially someone put some marker on it as well. It's hard to tell. It could just be the sticker, showing through, the transparent portion of the ripped sticker showing through to the back of the card back. To me, it looks like it could be some ink touch up as well on the card back, but it is a Made in Mexico for the U.S. market 65 back B, and you can see there in the lower left hand corner, Made in Mexico. And this one did not have the factory punch that I can see going through to the back of the card into the blister. So that's interesting. Some of them don't have it. I mean, I've noted a number of them on my channel that don't have it, but this one does not. And that's, they do stay clear because it's a different type of plastic that they use for the blister. But you got a mint on card, Lili Ledy Yoda, and it was listed for $900 and it sold for $800 in this condition. Now, an AFA 80 of this item, in much better shape, I think you're probably talking $1,200 to $1,400. Maybe you get lucky and you get it for cheaper. There was one that was a CAS 80 that sold, I think, for $600 or so in an auction. That was a good deal. But this one's probably like a 70, just because of the litho damage in the upper right-hand corner. Again, assuming that it has not had any marker touch-up where that sticker was attempted to be removed. It's hard to tell. It could just be, again, the card itself showing through. But to me, it looks like somebody kind of tried to color it in really poorly with a marker. So I don't know. Next up was a 77 back Boba Fett, unpunched, and this card looked to be in really clean condition. There you go. Unpunched, no price sticker. It obviously is heavily yellowed, but I did see one ding here, but I did not see any cracks in the blister that were disclosed to my knowledge there. So very good shape. It just had that one ding in the lower left-hand corner. I think the card gets an 80 pretty easily. The blister's probably a 75, and then the figure 85. Maybe you get a 75 plus. That's kind of my estimate of the grade on this one. Maybe you get lucky and get an 80, but I think because of that pronounced ding in the lower left-hand corner, it brings the overall score down to about a 75. That's still sold for $13.25. That's about right. I mean, maybe slightly high, actually, just given what Boba Fett and Mox have done lately. They seem to have come way back down over the last year and a half. But still, that's a nice example. Unpunched, no price sticker. I can see the appeal to it and why you might want to pay an extra $100, $200 for it. I was kind of expecting it to sell around $1,100, $1,200. It sold for $13.25. Next up was a Kenner Canada Chewbacca with the original card image, not the Rockstar image. So, but it was the Kenner Canadian example. And here's a look at the back of it. La guerre des étoiles. And it was a punched example in very, very good shape. Probably overall a yellowed 80 or 80 plus would be my guess on that one. That one sold for $351. Again, slightly yellowed blister. No price sticker. It was punched, but probably an 80 or 80 plus pretty easily. Beautiful example of a foreign card back. Speaking of foreign card backs, here is a Palitoy Tri-Logo Darth Vader. Not mint by any means. The blister had quite a bit of damage to it. The card was pretty good. It probably has, just looking at it, it kind of looks like to me a PBP Vader inside. Maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of these Palitoys do have the Spanish PBP Vader. I'm just guessing, but it looks like it's got the textured cape Darth Vader inside, and the paint apps on that chest apparatus look to me like the Spanish PBP. Just a guess, though. I have no idea for sure. But that one sold for $270. Obviously, the condition of the blister and some light edge wear to the card brought that one down, but $270 was a good deal just for what it was. Next up, there was a Tri-Logo Indoor Forest Ranger mini rig. I had this one in my what to buy video. It was unused contents, graded UKG 75%. It was listed for 300 pounds. The best offer accepted on that was 250 pounds, which is 315 US dollars. So pretty good deal though, because that card art or that box art is awesome. Really presents nicely for the Tri-Logo version of the Indoor Forest Ranger. Speaking of Darth Vader, I've got two more mint on cards that sold. This one was an AFA 80 65 back B with a yellowed blister, but it was unpunched, an absolute stunner. No price stickers on that one. And the scores were 80, 85, 85 for an overall yellowed 80. Absolute beauty. But it sold for $800. Gulp. That seems a little high to me personally, but every Darth Vader seems to be going up in price, whether they're yellowed blister or clear blister. Return of the Jedis. I mean, we've seen some really high price examples that sold recently, not only on eBay, but also in some of the Hakes auctions. So Darth Vader on ESBs and on Return of the Jedis are definitely jumping. And, you know, pretty much any mock Darth Vaders, you're going to be setting up, you're going to be paying a lot of money for them. They've just gone up a lot in value. Next up is a Power of the Force. I had this in my what to buy video. It was graded CAS 80, and it was a beauty. It was punched, no price sticker though. That one sold for $9.95 in a buy it now situation. And again, the 65 back B with a yellowed blister, in all fairness, unpunched, sold for $800, or you could spend $200 more and get this one. To me, I'd probably pay up and get the Power of the Force Power of the Force version of Darth Vader, even though it's punched. It's just maybe a little bit more difficult to find this one. I think if you're patient, you can find one of these 65 backs with a clear blister. 65 backs are still kind of where you can find some Kenner card backs with clear blisters. I've got a number of them in my collection. So, to me, I'd pay the $200 more and get the Power of the Force version. That's just me. Maybe while you're leaving me a like, leave me a comment below which one you would rather have. An AFA 80 Darth Vader 65 back B unpunched, no price sticker for $800, or a punched example, no price sticker CAS 80 Power of the Force version of Darth Vader for $200 more. Leave me a comment while you're leaving me a like. That would be awesome. And then I've got two EV99s that sold. This one was a unpunched example with a sticker on. It wasn't a sticker, but it was just the coin offer on the back for the Warwick 92 back, unpunched. But it looks like the top of the punch is maybe poking through a little bit. You can see right there where it was hung on the hang tab, but it didn't actually knock out the little hanger tab. So, I call that partially unpunched, but it was an overall pretty good shape. I would say this one would probably grade out at a low 80, maybe a 75 plus. It's hard to say for sure, but that one was listed for $600, and the best offer accepted on that was $500. Pretty good deal there. And then finally was an AFA 85 archival case EV99 with a clear-ish blister. Now, it was labeled clear blister, and you could maybe make the argument that it's still kind of clear. And this one, the label still says clear, archival case, 80, 85, 85 were the sub-scores. It looks clear to me. Okay, you can maybe make an argument in the upper right-hand corner of the blister by the coin that's starting to yellow. It could just be lighting on that, but that's a beauty. It did have a price sticker, and it was punched again, but it had an archival case labeled an AFA 85 clear blister. That one sold down in Australia for 1,200 Australian dollars, which is 782 US dollars. Never mind. I didn't read the description on this one. It says, tragically, the top of the bubble has come off after grading. So, yes, I am crying. Still displays like a beast. I did not notice that when I pulled this one up, but you can see it now that you look at it. Oh, that has got to be an absolute gut-wrenching stab to the stomach when he got that one back from grading. Oh, that is brutal. And that's the risk we take when we play this game, folks. When you send in these old 45-year-old mint-on cards, especially the Power of the Force, I feel like. The Power of the Force blisters are extremely fragile, whether they're labeled clear or not. But you can also see the top of that blister there. That little piece of the blister is down there by the label, just to add insult to injury. Oh, man, that has got to be absolutely brutal as a collector when you send something into AFA and then it comes back cracked like that. So I feel for that seller. And he still got $782 for it. Would you pay that? I don't know. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably roll the dice and start over again and get this one for $500 versus paying for one that the label doesn't apply anymore. So I don't know. I mean, I can understand it. It still displays like a beast. I agree with that. I agree with that comment. But to me, once it's cracked and open like that, all bets are off, and I just think it's harder to get your money back for it. I'm surprised, actually, a little bit that he got $782 for it. I'm not sure I'd pay that. I'm not sure I'd pay that price for it, just given that you can get one still truly mint on card, admittedly with a yellowed blister or a more heavily yellowed blister than this one was, for a lot less. So anyway, I feel for that seller, though. That's got to be brutal, but I'm happy he was able to get something for it. But man, that's got to be something like. It hasn't ever happened to me this bad before. Okay, I've had them crack in shipping to and from the grading companies, but I've never had just a piece completely fly off like that. But let me know maybe in the comments what you think about that one, and has this ever happened to you? Whether you've shipped it to a buyer, or you've had it shipped to you from a seller, or to and from the grading companies. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.